This is Queer Across America, and these are goats. They're now part of my journey across the United States, checking out queer areas to show that wherever you are, you're not alone. I was in Austin, Texas for the Austin Film Festival. I work for the festival as a script reader, judging the competition, giving feedback to writers, and helping decide which scripts advance. And I've read a ton of shitty scripts, but in that messy pile, I've read quite a few gems. It was my first year being able to actually attend the festival. I was excited, but also wanted to check out the queer community in Austin. I had heard so many good things about the city, and I quickly noticed that many of those things were correct. Austin was like a liberal oasis in the very red Texas. It almost didn't feel like I was in Texas at all. I had been to the state a few times. You can check out some of my other videos visiting the other cities in Texas. Austin, however, had a vibe very similar to like Portland or Seattle. It was definitely a trendy city. One of the first things I did was visit the library. It was by far the nicest library I had ever been to, which was pretty surprising because you don't really think of libraries when you think of Texas. As I was walking through checking out all the shelves, I noticed that there were many, many gaps in them. I guess that's because Texas loves banning books. That's a shame because it's such a nice library. Too bad it can't be filled with books. The rooftop gave a beautiful view of the city. I was actually pretty surprised at how green it was for the desert. And overlooking the river was really serene. Next, I headed to 6th Street. That's where it was more of a touristy area, where plenty of bars and restaurants were. And man, was it loud. Even on a weekday, it was such a lively street. It almost put New Orleans to shame. I wandered around looking for something to eat. Everybody knows about the reputation of Texas and food, so I was looking for something good. But on 6th Street, I didn't really find a whole lot that didn't seem like basic American food. I decided that I was just going to grab some fries and then go to a barbecue place that was not too far off. I sat down at a bar and ordered some fries. I didn't even look at the menu because how much could fries possibly be? But after the server charged me with one of those little electronic machines and I put in the tip without even thinking, I realized that the grand total was $16. Yes, $16 for these fries. I thought that they might have overcharged me, so I asked. They confirmed I just bought a plate of $16 fries. But they assured me that they were very big fries. Not all of Austin was that pricey. It seemed to be just on 6th Street, because everywhere else I went, prices were actually surprisingly cheap. I got out of the downtown area to check out one of the barbecue spots that I was really looking forward to seeing. It was a queer-owned shop called La Barbecue, and it did not disappoint. They had run out of most of their menu, which is always a good sign at a barbecue spot, because it was quite popular. But thankfully, they still have some turkey left, and I got this burger, and it was delicious. The sun went down not long after, but it still remained really hot even at night. Some of the film festival events were already happening, but I wasn't ready to do anything until the next day. That night was strictly dedicated to checking out the queer bars. The first one was Oilcan Harry's. This was more of a trendy club-style venue, but the drink prices were still really good. I hung out there only for one drink, but it was really cool to see that there were a lot of queer people there. It wasn't just gay white men. There were women, there were trans folks, there were people of color, there was just a whole diverse community. Then I popped over to Rain on 4th, which was only a couple doors down. This was more my style of a venue. The front area was like a little dive bar. It had a lot of neighborhood people and people that came to town to visit and would come there often. On the other side of the dive bar area was more of a club venue. The next morning, I was only slightly hungover. Thank God. So I walked back towards the downtown area, passing by all these little critters that I saw on the way, ready to see what the film festival was all about. It was being held at the Omni, which was way too nice for me to be in. I absolutely did not belong in this kind of hotel, and it was clear just based on the lobby. There was a lot of douchey-looking business people there, but thankfully, I found my crowd. The film festival attendees were nearly as pretentious and looked much more creative. The festival had a bunch of cool panels, like having the writers of BoJack Horseman talk about what it was like being on the show. There's another panel of agents that spoke about how to get managers and agents in the industry. And one of my favorites was a pitch session, where people in the audience were randomly called to practice pitching to a team of people that worked in the industry, producers, directors, and other writers. I was surprised to see that one of the panels was being held at a church across the street. But I was happy to see that there was a big pride flag saying all were welcome there. One of the church venues was a room full of the scripts that made it to the semifinal and finalist rounds. I was glad to see some of my favorites made it, including the horror script for Bloody Mary, a story that looked at her descent into madness caused by children in modern times calling her name. We all got swag bags for attending. Let's take a look at some of the cool that came in it. Everyone loves queso. Everyone also loves a Subtopia. The title of this film was pretty accurate because I didn't get anything in focus. This one was truly inspiring. Though the library earlier had books to purchase, nothing had really caught my eye, so I went to Book People. The bookstore had an extensive queer section and a section of local writers. If you're interested in reading queer books with me, check out my Patreon where we do a book club event every month. Overall, Austin was an incredible experience. It was somewhere that I would consider moving to. I'm curious to know what the rural cities in Texas think of it. Is Austin like the liberal cousin at Christmas that refuses to sit around and listen to homophobic jokes? Would Austin be the city that goes by new pronouns that are too difficult for conservatives to understand? Something tells me that Austin isn't quite accepted by the other cities in Texas. Whatever the case, I was pleased to see that the city had a thriving queer community, acceptance, and plenty of diversity. If you're enjoying my travels and queer babble, please like and subscribe to my page. And if you're writing a screenplay or any other form of writing and want some feedback, I've opened up an option for that on my Patreon.